The crystal chandelier threw fractured light across the marble floor. Daphne stood frozen in the grand foyer, keys trembling in her hand. Fresh roses perfumed the air, mixing with something else. Expensive cologne. Recent presents. She shouldn't be here. Not really. Her best friend Leela had begged her to house sit while the owner traveled abroad for a month. Easy money. Water the plants. Feed the cat. Enjoy the mansion, except the mansion wasn't empty. The sound of a door closing echoed through the space. Daphne's heart slammed against her ribs. She spun toward the hallway. He emerged from the shadows like a storm, given human form, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair slightly disheveled, sharp blue eyes that cut through her like ice. His white dress shirt was open at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that spoke of controlled power. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was low, commanding, dangerous. Daphne took a step back, her shoulder blades hitting the cool wall. "Leela asked me to house sit. She said the owner was out of town." His jaw tightened. She was wrong. "I own this house." The air left her lungs. This was him. The mysterious CEO. The man Leela had never named, only described as powerful and unavailable. "I didn't know," she stammered. "I thought you were gone for the month." His gaze swept over her, assessing every detail, taking inventory. "And you just let yourself in?" She held up the keys like a white flag. "She gave me these. I swear I thought the place was empty." He exhaled slowly, a sound caught between frustration and something else she couldn't name. "Well, I'm back early, and I don't remember approving a house sitter." Heat crawled up her neck. "Look, I'll leave. I didn't mean to intrude." His hand shot up, stopping her mid-turn. "No." She blinked. "No. You're already here." He ran his fingers through his hair, the gesture betraying a crack in his controlled exterior. "And frankly, I could use the help. My schedule is insane. I don't have time to deal with the house." Daphne hesitated. Living under the same roof as this man felt dangerous. Not physically. Something deeper. Something that made her pulse quicken in ways she didn't want to examine. "And you are?" she asked, though part of her already knew. His lips pressed into a thin line. Grayson Sinclair. The name hit her like a wave. Everyone knew Grayson Sinclair. Ruthless, brilliant. A man who turned failing companies into billion-dollar empires overnight. A man who controlled everything around him. "So what do you say?" His eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment the world narrowed to just the two of them. "Stay. Handle the house. In return, you live here just as you planned." She should say no. She should walk out that door and never look back. But something in his gaze held her. A challenge. A dare. A promise of something she couldn't quite name. "Right," she whispered. "But only because I don't want to leave Layla in trouble." Something flickered across his face. Approval, perhaps, or warning good. He turned toward the grand staircase, leaving her standing alone in the foyer, wondering what kind of deal she'd just made, and why part of her wanted to find out 3 weeks. Passed like a fever dream, Daphne learned the rhythm of Grayson's world. He worked until midnight, his office light bleeding under the door. He drank his coffee black at dawn. He moved through the mansion like a king surveying his kingdom. Every gesture calculated, every word measured, but in rare moments, she caught glimpses of the man beneath the armor. Late one afternoon, she found him on the balcony, staring at the city below. The golden light softened his sharp features. He held something in his hand, turning it over and over between his fingers. A silver ring. "You don't strike me as someone who takes time to just stand still," she said. Stepping beside him, he didn't look at her. "Maybe I don't, but you do. And that interests you?" His silence stretched too long. Then quietly, "This was my father's." Daphne's breath caught. He never spoke about his family, never let anyone close enough to ask, "Were you too close?" His jaw tensed. He built this empire from nothing. Expected perfection. "I learned early that emotions had no place in business. Weakness wasn't tolerated." The weight in his voice made her chest ache. "You don't have to be him." "No." He finally looked at her, and the rawness in his eyes nearly broke her. "But I have to be the man he raised." Before she could respond, footsteps echoed behind them. Sharp, deliberate, female Daphne turned to see a woman standing in the doorway. Tall, elegant, expensive, everything. Daphne wasn't. The woman's gaze swept over her with cold assessment before landing on Grayson. Grayson. Her smile was razor sharp. "I see you have company." Grayson's entire body went rigid. Madeline. The name landed like a stone in still water. Madeline stepped onto the balcony, her presence commanding space effortlessly. "Aren't you going to introduce us?" "This is Daphne," Grayson said, his voice tight. "She's helping with the house." How quaint. Madeline's eyes glittered with something dangerous. "Though I'm surprised you'd need help, especially after everything we discussed." Daphne felt the shift in the air, the unspoken history, the power dynamic she didn't understand. "What are you doing here?" Grayson's tone was ice. "Business." Madeline pulled an envelope from her designer bag, holding it out. "The merger papers. Your signature is the last thing we need." Grayson didn't take it. "I told you I needed time to review. I told you time is a luxury we don't have." Madeline's smile widened. "Unless you want your father's legacy to crumble, unless you want everyone to know what really happened that night." The air between them crackled with threat. Daphne's stomach twisted. "I should go. Stay." Grayson's command froze her mid-step. Madeline laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. "Oh, this is adorable. You've gotten attached." She turned to Daphne. "Has he told you about us? About what we shared?" "That's enough." Grayson's voice dropped to a growl. "Is it?" Madeline tilted her head. "Because I think she deserves to know the truth. About the merger. About your father's death. About the deal you made to protect your precious empire." Daphne looked between them, her pulse racing. What is she talking about? Grayson's eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. Her, Madeline pressed. "Or I will." The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Then Grayson spoke, his voice hollow. 5 years ago, my father died in a car accident. But it wasn't an accident. Someone tampered with his brakes. Daphne's blood ran cold. And I've spent every day since trying to find out who. His gaze never left hers. Madeline knows. She's always known. And she's been using it against me ever since. Madeline's smile was poison. "Sign the merger, Grayson, or everyone learns the truth, including her." She dropped the envelope on the balcony railing and walked away. Her heels clicking against marble like a countdown, Daphne stood frozen. Her world tilting. Grayson reached for her, but she stepped back. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't touch me right now. Daphne, please, you've been lying to me this whole time." Her voice cracked. "What else haven't you told me?" His hand fell to his side, and in his eyes, she saw the answer. Everything. Daphne didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the door, waiting for answers that never came. Dawn broke gray and cold. She found Grayson in his office, surrounded by papers. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled, human, breakable. "You owe me the truth," she said from the doorway. He looked up, something raw flickering across his face. "I know, then talk." He leaned back in his chair, the leather creaking. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he spoke. "My father wasn't a good man. He built this empire on ruthless decisions, destroyed competitors, crushed anyone who stood in his way." His voice was hollow, including his own family. Daphne stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. "The night he died, we'd had a fight. He wanted me to finalize a merger with Madeline's family, said it would secure our legacy, but I refused." His jaw tightened. "I told him I wouldn't let him control my life anymore, that I was done being his weapon. And then he got in his car, drove away. 3 hours later, the police called. Grayson's hands clenched into fists. Someone cut his brake lines. made it look like mechanical failure. By the time I got to the hospital, he was already gone. Gosh, the pain in his voice made her chest ache. Madeline came to me 2 weeks after the funeral, said she had evidence. Security footage from our garage. Someone tampering with the car. He looked up, his eyes haunted. She offered to keep it quiet. In exchange for the merger, you've been trapped this whole time. Understanding dawned, cold and terrible. She owns me. The admission seemed to cost him everything. If I don't sign, she releases the footage. The company collapses. My father's legacy dies, and whoever killed him gets away with it. Daphne moved closer, her heart pounding. Why didn't you just pay her off? You have the money. Because it's not about money. Grayson stood, his presence filling the space between them. It's about power. Control. She wants the merger because it makes her untouchable. Gives her access to everything I've built. So, you've been playing along. I've been surviving. His gaze locked onto hers, intense and desperate. Until you showed up, the air shifted, charged. What does that mean? He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. It means for the first time in 5 years, I've wanted something more than revenge. More than the company. More than any of this. Her breath caught. Grayson, I know you shouldn't trust me. I know I've kept too many secrets. His hand rose, hovering near her face but not touching. But I need you to believe one thing. Everything I've done, every lie I've told, it was to protect what's left of my father's legacy. To find the truth. But now what? Now I'd burn it all down if it meant keeping you safe. The words hung in the air like a vow. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, her blood turning to ice. A text from an unknown number. A single image. Her. Entering the mansion that first night.
Unstamped.
Captioned. Interesting house guest. Does she know what she's gotten into? Grayson. Her voice shook. Someone's watching us. He took the phone, his expression darkening. Madeline? How do you know? Because this is what she does. She finds leverage. Weakness. His eyes met hers, fierce and protective. And she just found mine. Another text came through. This time, words, tell him to sign by midnight. Or I tell her everything. Including who really killed his father. Daphne's world tilted. She knows who did it? Grayson's face went white. Then, slowly, he looked at her. And in his eyes, she saw something that made her stomach drop. Guilt. There's something else I haven't told you, he said quietly. What? He swallowed hard. The night of the fight? When my father left, I wasn't alone. Someone was with me. Someone who heard everything. Someone who had just as much reason to want him dead. Who? His voice cracked. Lila, the name hit her like a physical blow. Your friend didn't randomly ask you to house sit Daphne? She sent you here on purpose. His words came faster now, desperate. She's been working with Madeline. Setting this up. Using you to get to me. No. Daphne stumbled backward. You're lying. Lila wouldn't. She was my father's assistant. He fired her that night. Humiliated her in front of the entire board. She swore she'd make him pay. Grayson's voice broke. And now she's making me pay instead. Daphne's phone buzzed again. A new message. This time from Lela. Sorry, babe. Business is business. You were always too trusting. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Daphne had ever felt. She used me. The words came out numb. My best friend. She used me to destroy you. Grayson reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't. Everyone I trust turns into a liar. Then don't trust me. His voice was raw. Hate me. Blame me. But don't leave. Because if you walk out that door, they win. Madeline gets everything. Leela gets her revenge. And whoever killed my father stays free. Daphne looked at him, this broken, powerful man who'd become something she'd never expected. Someone she cared about. What do we do? She whispered. His eyes blazed. We fight back. The plan was simple, dangerous, possibly suicidal. Daphne sat across from Grayson in his office as midnight approached. Between them lay the merger papers, unsigned. A ticking bomb. Are you sure about this? His voice was low, edged with concern. No. She met his gaze. But I'm doing it anyway. The plan. She would meet with Madeline and Lila, wear a wire. Get them to confess everything. Who killed Grayson's father? Why? How they'd orchestrated this entire trap. It was reckless. But it was the only way. If this goes wrong, Grayson started. It won't, Daphne. He reached across the desk, his hand covering hers. The touch sent electricity through her. They're dangerous. Both of them. If they suspect anything, then you'll be there. She squeezed his hand. You promised, yet. He'd be in a car outside the meeting place. Armed security. Ready to move the second things went sideways. But they both knew how quickly things could unravel. At 11, Daphne stood in an abandoned parking garage downtown. Cold concrete. Flickering lights. The perfect place for secrets to die, or people. The wire pressed against her skin beneath her jacket. Grayson's voice crackled in her hidden earpiece. I'm here. 2 minutes away. Say the word and I'm coming in. She didn't respond. Couldn't, because Madeline had just stepped out of the shadows. Right on time, Madeline's heels echoed. I appreciate punctuality. Where's Lila? Daphne's voice stayed steady, despite the fear coursing through her. On her way, Madeline circled her like a predator. Tell me, does Grayson know you're here? He thinks I'm home packing. A lie. But a necessary one. Madeline smiled. Good girl. You're smarter than you look. The insult stung, but Daphne held her ground. You said you'd tell me the truth. About who killed his father. I did, didn't I? Madeline paused, studying her. What makes you think you can handle the truth? Try me. Footsteps behind her. Daphne turned to see Lila emerging from the stairwell. Her former best friend looked different. Harder. Cold. Layla. Daphne's voice cracked despite herself. Daphne. Layla didn't smile. I'd say I'm sorry, but we both know I'm not. Why? The question burned. Why did you do this to me? Because you were convenient. Layla shrugged. Perfect, actually. Sweet, trusting. Exactly the type of girl who'd make Grayson Sinclair forget himself. Madeline laughed. She's right. You were the perfect bait. But I don't understand. What? Daphne looked between them. What does any of this have to do with his father's death? Silence. Heavy. Loaded. Then Layla spoke, her voice flat. Because I killed him. The world stopped. What? Daphne breathed. I cut his brake lines. Layla's eyes were empty. After he fired me? After he humiliated me. Called me worthless in front of everyone. I waited until everyone left. Then I went to the garage and made sure he'd never humiliate anyone again. Horror washed over Daphne. You murdered him. I freed the world from a monster. Layla stepped closer. And I'd do it again, and Madeline knew. Understanding crystallized, terrible and complete. She's been protecting you, in exchange for my help destroying Grayson. Madeline's smile was vicious. He gets to sign over everything he's built. We get to divide the empire. And Lila gets her revenge. It's perfect, really. Lila tilted her head. Except for one problem. What's that? You. The click of a gun cocking froze Daphne's blood. Madeline held the weapon, casual and confident. You see, we can't have witnesses. And you've heard far too much. Daphne's heart hammered. Grayson knows I'm here. If anything happens to me, then he'll grieve. Madeline shrugged and signed the papers anyway, because that's what he does. He protects his father's legacy above all else, even above you. The words cut deep because part of Daphne feared they were true. Drop the wire, Layla said coldly. We know you're wearing one. Daphne's hand moved to her jacket, fingers trembling. Grayson's voice crackled in her ear, urgent. Don't. I'm coming. Hold on. But she couldn't wait. Not with a gun pointed at her chest. She pulled out the wire. Dropped it. Watched it clatter against concrete. Good girl. Madeline raised the gun. Now, glass shattered. Tires squealed. Suddenly, Grayson was there, bursting through the stairwell door, security behind him. Get away from her. His voice was thunder. Madeline spun, but Grayson was faster. He slammed into her, the gun skittering across the floor. Security grabbed Leela before she could run. In seconds, it was over. Madeline and Leela were being dragged away, their screams echoing through the garage. Police sirens wailed in the distance, and Grayson pulled Daphne into his arms, his entire body shaking. You're okay. You're okay? He repeated it like a prayer. She clung to him, her own body trembling. I got it. The confession. Everything. He pulled back, cupping her face. You could have died, but I didn't. Daphne, I did it for you. The words spilled out, raw and honest. Because despite everything, despite the lies and the danger and the insanity of all this, she couldn't finish. But she didn't need to, because Grayson kissed. Her desperate, fierce, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning when they finally broke apart. His forehead rested against hers. Hey, I love you, he whispered. I know I shouldn't. I know it's too fast and too complicated and possibly the worst decision of my life, but I love you. Tears streamed down her face. That's definitely the worst declaration of love I've ever heard. He laughed, the sound broken and beautiful. Is that a yes? She kissed him again, softer this time. It's a maybe. Ask me again after we get through the lawsuits. Deal. But even as he held her, even as the police lights painted the garage red and blue, Daphne couldn't shake one last question. If Grayson had to choose between her and his father's empire, which would he pick? She had a feeling she was about to find out. 3 months later, Daphne stood in Grayson's office, watching him stare at the papers on his desk. The merger was dead. Madeline was awaiting trial for extortion and conspiracy to commit murder. Leela had already been sentenced to 20 years for killing Grayson's father. Justice, finally. But at a cost, the company was bleeding. Shareholders were fleeing. Competitors circled like sharks. Without the merger, without Madeline's connections, the empire Grayson's father built was crumbling. You could sell, Daphne said quietly. He looked up, his eyes tired but steady. What? The company? You could sell it. I'll walk away. Start over. She moved closer. You've spent 5 years fighting for your father's legacy. Maybe it's time to build your own. That's not how this works. Why not? Because this is who I am. Frustration bled into his voice. This company, this legacy, it's all I have. That's not true. She stood in front of him now, close enough to touch. You have me. His jaw tightened. For how long? Until you realize what being with me actually means? The scrutiny, the pressure, the constant fight. I knew what I was signing up for. Did you? He stood, the movement abrupt. Because I'm not sure I did. When I asked you to stay, when I told you I loved you, I thought we could have both. You and the company. But now you have to choose. The words hung between them, heavy as iron. Grayson looked at her, and she saw the war raging behind his eyes. Everything he'd built, everything he'd fought for, against the woman he loved. What if I choose wrong? His voice cracked. Then we deal with it. Together. She reached up, cupping his face. But you have to decide. Right now. What matters more? He closed his eyes, breathed. When he opened them again, something had shifted. I spent my whole life being the man my father wanted me to be. Ruthless, controlled, willing to sacrifice anything for success. His hands covered hers. But that man never would have fallen in love with you. Never would have risked everything for something as simple as happiness. Grayson, I choose you. The words came out fierce. I know. I choose us. Whatever that means. Whatever it costs. Relief and fear warred in her chest. Your company is just a company. He pulled her close. But you're irreplaceable, she wanted to argue. To tell him he was making a mistake, but the look in his eyes stopped her. So what now? she whispered. He smiled, slow and genuine. Now we figure it out. Together. The weeks that followed were chaos. Grayson sold controlling interest in the company to a competitor. Not the outcome his father would have wanted, but the right one for him. They moved out of the mansion into something smaller, more real. An apartment with a view of the park instead of the city. A place that felt like home instead of a museum. Daphne went back to school, finally pursuing the degree she'd abandoned. Grayson started consulting, using his expertise to help small businesses instead of crushing them. It wasn't the life either of them had planned. It was better. One evening, 6 months after everything changed, they sat on their tiny balcony watching the sunset. Grayson's arm wrapped around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Giving up everything?" He was quiet for a moment. Then, "I didn't give up everything. I gave up what was killing me. There's a difference." She tilted her head up to look at him. "Your father wouldn't be proud." "No." He smiled, sad but certain. "But I am. And for the first time, that's enough." She kissed him then, soft and slow. "A promise. A beginning. I love you," she murmured against his lips. "I know." His smile widened. "You're stuck with me now. Worst decision I ever made." "Second worst." He grinned. First was agreeing to house sit. She laughed, the sound bright and free. "Fair point." They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned from gold to purple to deep blue. The city hummed below them. The world kept turning, but up there, in their small corner of it, everything was exactly as it should be. Grayson Sinclair had spent his life building an empire, but in the end, he'd learned the most important lesson of all. Some things were worth more than power. Some things were worth everything. And as he held the woman he loved, watching the stars emerge one by one, he knew he'd made the right choice. Not the easy one, not the expected one, but the one that mattered. The one that set him free. The end.